The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the complete. That is crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Friction is heat. You know, you take an engine where the lifter goes up and down, pushes the valve up and down, it really gets hot right there. That's where oil breaks down and where we have failures. AMSOIL, on the other hand, it's a true synthetic lubricant. It's just idling right there. It doesn't even know it's being used. In other words, 300 degrees is whole hum to AMSOIL.
Hello and welcome to Daytona International Speedway for round one of a 2015 ASRS AMSOIL Truck Series here, live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Good evening, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me is Brian Corwin. Behind the scenes is our director, I'm Jed Yarmin, and our camera sets are brought to you by Dougie Beard. Bostonites will tell you that the winter hasn't quite came to an end yet, but Brian, the sounds of engines revving on the high banks of Daytona are always a sweet reminder to us that the racing season is here and warmer days are just around the corner.
Speaking of warmer days, Samuel, it's great to be back and I'm looking forward to this season. The trucks at Daytona are one of my favorite combinations on iRacing.com. I am definitely looking forward to this one. So let's see what we have in store for us tonight. Well, the race tonight is going to be 50 laps. It's a fixed setup, so everyone's driving an identical truck. There's no differences in setups or anything. It comes down to the driver, and we have a lot of good drivers in this field. Bryce Whitson mentioned before we went live here that they're looking at saying a 28 to 29 lap fuel window, and that might lay somewhere around 2 pit stops if they go green the whole time. Now, I'm not anticipating them to actually go green the whole time because, well, Daytona is one of those tracks that just breeds a lot of crashes. So expect people to come in, get new tires, get their shoulders a little untensed and get back out there. We're going to see a lot of lead changes, a lot of drivers going in and out of the pits, playing the strategies, and there's also no free repairs. So one big incident can wipe out the whole field, and that will make a big mess later on in the points chase coming up to the next race in the season.
Very much so. We have broadcasted ASRS races in the past, but we have never followed them throughout a season, and this is where every single story is going to start Daytona International Speedway. In fact, the stories have already started because there were about 40-50 trucks trying just to qualify for this race in a separate session that was open on iRacing about 15 minutes ago. Only 30 of them have made it in, and honestly, only 29 of them are actually in the session right now. DJ Beverly has not shown up, and I think that's partly due to iRacing actually having some issues with their website right now. Hopefully that won't cause too much of an effect. But the 30 trucks who have qualified into the race are actually on the track, on the speedway, qualifying right now to grid up where they will start the race, and we'll go through that with you on the pace lap, and there's certainly going to be a long pace lap around here as the pace car leads them around this 2.5 mile speedway before the race starts. But honestly, Brian, Daytona International Speedway qualifying position doesn't really make a heck of a lot of difference. Not only because A, this is a 50 lap race, and what's that, 125 miles, but B, the draft, the slipstream, the strategy, you can start from the back of a pit field and win here.
Absolutely, and we've seen it time and time again in all of the ovals that we've actually covered the different series on iRacing and through the GSRC. We've seen multiple times where people in the back of the field play the pit strategies just right, or maybe they get lucky with a yellow flag coming out and changing the order of things, and that can put them in a position where they can actually ride the draft to the front. Just because this is one of the most critical tracks for just keeping your car cool and keeping everything balanced, it's really easy for people to lose their concentration and lose those valuable positions. So the guys in the back have to really concentrate if they want to make their way to the front, which will make for an exciting race, of course, Samuel.
Yes, and we've got 1 minute left of qualifying, and currently we have had 25 of the 30 trucks put on the qualifying time. And as a matter of fact, it sounds like qualifying is that there's no one on the course right now. So these 25 are going to be the only ones to turn in laps. Ricky Hardin, who was the top place driver last season, who did not make the chase because he came into the season quite late. He currently is on pole position and will most likely start there. A new name to me being an ASRS broadcaster, and that is James Krahula. Will line up alongside him on the outside in second place. Jonathan Cadell, also a bit of a new name to me, starting third. Jeff Ryan is in fourth. Boy, we got a lot of new names here. Reed Rundell and Daniel Vinen round out the third row. Aaron Kleinhans, he's familiar, as is Tommy Ryan. They are on row 4. And then Adam Blattel and Scott Smith round out the top 10, Brian.
Paul Boswell's going to come in here in 11th place, followed by Jamie Moore. Jeffrey Belt is just behind them next to Benny Elson. In 15th, we have Christopher Ginn and Jared Haggerty. And, of course, Dan Murray's going to be in 17th. Right behind him, we have Keith Madaros in 18th, Jesse A. Fowler in 19th. David W. Gibson is going to take 20th, and we'll go down the rest of the field with Sam.
Yes, Michael Krobach and then Bryce Whitson, the last season champion, will start 22nd. Jason Christen is 23rd. Gary Whitson, last season's runner-up, I believe, is 24th. Tim Johnston rounds out the trucks that put on the qualifying time in 25th. And then I actually see more than 30 trucks listed up behind that, so we'll have to see which ones actually make it to the grid from 26th through 30th. But it will be a 50-lap race around here. And we've got to give a shout out to Jared Haggerty driving the number 57 truck as they get gridded up here, because he is actually the sponsor for this race. He is the one who is going to be putting this race on, so we are going to check in with him as the race goes on as a note of thanks there to see how well he does. And Jared Haggerty is usually a top 10 contender, Brian, so definitely don't count him out to maybe end up contending for a top 5 position at the end.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things that we've been touching on time and time again at Super Speedway Racing, specifically Daytona. The track is very narrow at times. It can seem like that wall on the top is just getting smaller and closer to the bottom of the track, so these guys got to keep their situational awareness and their wits about them if they want to get to the top. Jared Haggerty, of all people, I think he's more than capable of doing just that.
Yes, and like I say, we're seeing the trucks getting gridded up right here. And it will be a 2.5 mile, just a 1 lap pace lap around here. And then, like we say, 50 laps with 1 or maybe even 2 pit stops with a 29 lap fuel load. And then next week they'll be at Atlanta, where we'll really start to see where we'll really start to see a separation of men for the men from the boys. I apologise. This week, Brian, it's pretty much a crapshoot. Anyone can win it, and they're all going to try and get their name at the top of the standings going into Atlanta.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the cars as they come out. It looks like the guys in the back are going to have to get caught up here. Of course, they have plenty of time to do so on this long 2.5 mile circuit. However, you know, I'm just looking at some of these paint jobs this year. Just one that's really sticking out to me is the number 3 car, David W. Gibson. Very colorful there. I hope my trading paints is working. But there's a lot of cool looking cars out here in the field today, Sam. You know, I'm just pumped up for this season. I hope it's a great race.
It usually is, and one thing that I think really improves the quality of the ASRS is the fact that there is no free repairs in this series. It makes them a lot more respectful of each other when they're racing in order to try and prevent a collision, and that usually means we end up with clean races, and hopefully we get a clean race here at Daytona, because if not, like you mentioned at the start of a broadcast, Brian, a big wreck could really thin out the field here.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about a big wreck here. These guys have lots of talent. If you think back, Samuel, to the Memorial race, there was a few yellows that we can remember, but none of them were really out of circumstances of bad driving. It's more of it was a tight track and a car a lot of those guys may not have been familiar with. But coming out here to the trucks in this big, wide open speedway, of course these guys have immense amounts of skill. And, you know, what else can really be said here? They're just a good group of guys, and this is a great series.
And the pace car has pulled off. Here we go. We are racing here at Daytona. The 2015 ASRS AMSOIL Truck Series is underway.
Everyone's following up down the pack just nicely. I'm looking at Benny Allison in the back. Everyone looking to go 2 by 2, trying to find a space to get down in the yellow.
There was almost a big wreck up front there. The driver in second has to go down onto the apron. That is James Bahula, one of the new drivers. He was incredibly able to save it, but he is losing positions by the second.
Hopefully that wasn't the commentator's curse, as we were just talking about the skill level here. It looks like everyone got by unscathed now as we see the number 10 car trying to get down the bottom. Not a lot of room for everybody as we go 2x2 around the corners here. No contact looking in the field. I think everyone got that out of their system, and they are now ready to go racing.
Absolutely, and it looks like, is that going to be Aaron Kleinhans leading them to the line in the green number 85 truck? He had his birthday yesterday, I believe. Well, this is a nice birthday present. He's leading early on here at Daytona. Won the 50 laps in the books, and Reed Rundell was right on his rear spoiler. Look at the trucks on the outside. Adam Blattall leading them in that yellow truck. He is running in about 6th position right now. They're trying to get a high line for him, and it doesn't seem to be working for them now. And the driver trying to push Adam to the front is Jonathan Cadell.
I've seen a few cars on the bottom now, actually, as the 99's trying to go 3 wide back there as I have to switch camera angles to see what exactly is going on. I don't think there was any wall contact as he is now filed back into the 2 wide situation. I was going to point out, Sam, that I've already seen the number 10 and the car in front, the number 21 of Scott Smith, both trying to get below that yellow line, finding some air. I don't imagine that they're going to be too hot. This is fixed setup racing, but if they don't manage their engine heat, we can see a few engines getting blown for sure.
Absolutely, and as the run goes on, you might see them bumper to bumper at the start of a run, but as the run goes on, you might see them start to jostle around a bit more just to try and keep the engines cool. Now, it's weird already, Brian. They're only 5 miles into this race, 2 laps, and the top 16 have broken away from the bottom 14, led by Jeffrey Belt.
Yeah, Jeffrey Belt's putting on a good show. He's actually being very smooth right now, gluing himself to that yellow line. That's the best way around Daytona. If you can keep that bottom line nice and smooth, then anyone can push you. The guy in the back, however, has to be careful not to overcompensate coming out of the corners. It's really easy to get your nose under that left rear quarter panel and spin the cars, and like you said, the big one would be catastrophic here. Now, it does look like lots of drivers are trying to employ the tandem system. We see several cars trying to get a change of 3 going, but it doesn't seem to be the way to go here now, as we have the number 7, the 00, the 62, and of course Jeffrey Belt, who I believe is in the 102 car, all trying to pull away from the field.
Back up front, we have a challenge for the lead, a tandem on the outside. It's the same 2 I was referring to earlier, Jonathan Cadell pushing Adam Blattall, who temporarily has the lead, but I don't think he will have it when they come across the line to complete lap 4, but I've been proven wrong before because there's a lot more trucks on the bottom lane and they may be able to get a better draft going, but I am being proven wrong because Adam Blattall takes his Chevrolet Silverado across the line in first place, and for the record, 31 trucks actually started this race. There were 33 trucks in the session. The 2 that did not start were DJ Beverly and Carson Orbay.
I'm having a little glitch, I think, with my live timing, Sam, but can you confirm that we have Adam Littell in the lead, followed by, I think that is Jonathan Cadell, so very similar names there. It does sound correct. I think the problem I was having is resolved, but now we see the 85 of Aaron Kleinhans trying to get around the outside. Doesn't work. He scoops down to the bottom. Right behind him, we have Reed Rundell looking to get back in line. Hopefully, she makes a good clean move there. No contact. It looks like now everyone's trying to get on that bottom side. Apparently, going around the outside in a tandem is not the way to go.
No, but I'll tell you what, it worked for Adam Blattall, and that takes commitment, Brian, to start in 9th place in the race and within 4 laps be leading it. You have to make a commitment to be able to do that. You have to say, I'm going to the front at the start of this race, and that's where I want to be. And I'm not saying that a strategy of hanging around in the middle or at the back doesn't work, but obviously Adam's strategy is to get up front and be in front of all the crazy stuff, and that has worked very well for him. He has done a very good job of that early on here.
I'm looking at the back, or not, it's completely the back, but the number 57 car of Jared Haggerty working the outside. He's pushing the car just in front of him. and they're not making up any time though, so obviously the bottom side is where the grip and the speed is at. Now, I did hear a few people on the radio scanner getting a little impatient, little tempers flaring there. That's part of super speedway racing, so that's gotta be expected. That's something that we never really touched on in this race so far, Samuel. The patience it takes to be a super speedway driver, looking for the driver to make a mistake, getting underneath them so you can make the pass without taking him out. It's very hard to do here. These guys are making it look easy.
Yes, Travis Haggerty is actually beginning to make a bit of progress on the high line. Remember, he is our sponsored driver, the driver who is making all of this possible. And as I was about to say that he was getting the bandwagon there going on the high line, he ducks to the inside line behind the number 15 truck of Ricky Hardin and then actually begins to pull up a little bit. Ricky Hardin, remember, is our pole sitter. He's still running there in the top 5. And Jeff Ryan is right behind Jared Haggerty. He is in the number 39 Bass Pro Shops truck. And that's a very snazzy looking truck, actually.
Always a favorite with the NASCAR crowd. The Bass Pro Shops truck livery is definitely a good way to go here. And geez, Sam, it looks like everyone's kind of let those tempers cool down because we're all single file all the way to the back of the pack, where we even had a few drivers that may have fallen out earlier getting back into the mix. The 97 and the 99 both working together. That's Paul Boswell and Jesse A. Fowler, and they're now into the mix, all utilizing the draft nicely. I think right now, seeing that we're on lap 8 of 50, it's more going to be a patience game and just wait it out to see what happens.
And I can understand why people in this second pack are being impatient with one another, because they are racing 2 by 2. Look at Michael Krobach there, racing side by side with the number 86 Silverado of Stephen Marks. That's not going to help them run down these leaders. These leaders are running single file, or at least they were. They've decided to go double file again now. And if the leaders run single file and that second pack runs double file, the leaders are only going to pull away. And if this goes green to the end, you don't have a big chance of being in that second pack and winning today.
Yeah, the second pack's definitely waiting for a yellow right now. Like you said, I can definitely understand the frustration. Things didn't go right at the start. Obviously, we had one car sink below the yellow line, and they caused a few little scares there, so those guys may have been hung out by that. But like we said, if there's a big crash later, these guys might be the ones that we're talking about winning the race later on. So we're going to try our best not to count them out of the race. But I think you're right. As of right now, they're kind of out of the hunt, and they're just trying to stay alive, get that line going as smooth as possible so they can try and make up some ground on the leaders.
Meanwhile, someone who definitely wants the caution to come out is Steve Bahala. I'm not entirely sure what happened to him in the number 12 truck, but he has completely lost both packs. He is running back there in 31st and last, and if there's no caution, he will easily go a lap down. It looks like the second pack is beginning to get themselves sorted out a little bit, at least the back is. The front of it isn't whatsoever. And I wanted to take a moment to try and get the camera on James Krahula, who, if you remember, started second. He was a driver who almost lost control in turns 1 and 2 on the first lap. He has fallen all the way back to 26th, but it could be a lot worse for that WeatherTech Silverado.
Absolutely, and that's the part of racing that everyone struggles with. You got to find the positives out of all the bad things that can go wrong in a race. We're on lap 11 right now, about 1/5 of the way through the race. We got a long ways to go, but yeah, it's not looking good for him right now, unfortunately. And hopefully, he can get it back together before the end of the race. Any points counts this early in the season.
Yeah, and the Whitsons also back in that second pack, which surprises me a bit. They're usually up there at the end, but then guess what? This isn't the end yet. This is only lap 11, and they could very well be up there by the end because I don't want to put an over-under on the amount of cautions we're going to get, but I'm going to guess it's going to be 1 or more. Although, granted, I don't think it will happen from a blue flag being dropped from the flag stand. Adam Blattel, meanwhile, continues to lead the field, while the drivers in about 3rd and 5th trying to get a run going on the outside. That is birthday boy as of yesterday, Aaron Cleanhands, being pushed by the number 5 truck of Dan Murray. And we were first introduced to Dan Murray in the iSuper Speedway series on GSRC last year. They raced solely at Daytona and Talladega, so this number 5 truck, he certainly knows how to... Ooh! Again, very tightly squeezed though. Aaron Cleanhands and Adam Blatter almost had contact there, but that does push Aaron Cleanhands to the top, and now Dan Murray's going to fall all the way back, just as I was saying, all those good things about him.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things in oval racing that I've always hated. You get all this help to get to the front of the track, and what happens? They leave you behind. And that was kind of a risky move there by the number 85 car up in the front. He was running a good pace, but he knew he was going to lose him going into that corner. So, yeah, I mean, this is a tricky situation. You don't want to let up too much. You don't want to leave your friend behind, but sometimes if you want to lead laps, it's what it takes.
And this is the first time today we have seen Adam Blattel go to the high line. Oh, actually, no, it's not, because he used the high line to get up to the front. But ever since he's been leading, he's been glued to that inside. But as soon as he loses the lead, he goes straight back up to the high line. And he might be able to lead lap 13 here, because he's got a lot of trucks pushing him from behind, being led by Jonathan Cadell, who was the one who pushed him up to the lead earlier. And I think Adam Blattel is going to owe Jonathan a favour after this race is done.
Yeah, and that top side actually looks like it's moving pretty well here. We got Dan Murray. We also have the number 10 of Jamie Moore. They're both very, very good pushers from what I've seen. Just behind them even, there's one more car. I can't quite see his number from the camera view I'm on as a number 10. Gets a little bit of a bump on the back of, I can't see the number there. I think that is Dan Murray. Hits the wall just slightly, but doesn't lose any speed. Now we see Adam Blattel pulling out in front of the leaders and making a move for the lead. What a great pass that was.
Yeah, so Adam takes it back from Aaron. He almost pulled down in turns 1 and 2, but then I almost think he was waiting for Jonathan Cadell to come with him and came back upstairs to give Jonathan a second chance. Jonathan wasn't able to make that second chance work, so Adam just pulled down on his own, and now Aaron Kleinhans has actually turned him in with the leaders. They pull away about 5 truck lengths, but the draft will easily bring them back into contention, and that is Reed Rundell running in 3rd place in that orange and white number 43 truck.
And I'm going to jump back just a little bit, Sam, as now it looks like Dan Murray's trying to push again. He had a very good push the last time, got left behind, but now he's trying to work the outside. I think his main motive here this time, though, is to get away from the number 10 car, not to tie down on Jamie Moore, but he did kind of bump up the back.
3 wide for the lead. Look at that. Reed Rundell had a massive run, and Aaron Kleinhans, I guess, tried to go with him. Reed wasn't having any of it. Reed Rundell has now lost every single drafting partner he has, and he's going to fall back. They may be 3 wide right now, but it won't be that way for much longer, because Reed's going to fall back. Aaron Kleinhans is going back to the lead, and him and Adam, they both want to lead this race, and that could get this front pack into a lot of trouble.
Absolutely, and Jonathan Cadell did a very good job to switch down to the middle lane, seeing that there was an opening there. Latches onto the back of Aaron Kleinhans, who was scored as the leader for that lap around, but now losing ground to the 104 of Adam Blattel and the 15 of Ricky Harden. Both drivers, Ricky Harden and Blattel, have both been very fast this race, so it's going to be a very skilled approach to try and get around them. And then looking a little bit back, Dan Murray's starting to peter out a little bit. He's all over the back of the 29, but he seems to be losing the draft each time around these corners. So it's back to the drawing board for Dan Murray.
Well, I tell you, Brian, about 5-6 laps ago, we were talking about how we liked the looks of his first pack over the second one. I've got to be honest, if I was out there right now, I'd prefer to be in the second pack.
I'd have to tend to agree with you on that one. It's getting very dicey up in the front as we see cars switching from top to bottom every time they go around the start-finish line. But, you know, speaking of the start-finish line, we're almost into the pit window. We got about 10 laps to go. If these packs stay the way they are, what are you anticipating as they all shoot down pit road?
Well, I'm not anticipating any tyres, that's for sure, but I'll tell you something you could throw into that, Brian, is that you don't fall... not all the time, sometimes you do. You don't fall a lap down at Daytona as Aaron Kleinhans loses all of his drafting partners and falls back on the outside line. You don't lose a lap at Daytona all the time if you pit under green. So if they are getting about 28 laps on fuel under green, you might actually see some trucks decide to short pit and come in on lap 22.
I would think that would be the case, because especially if 1 or 2 trucks go in, maybe they can start drafting with one another, get caught back into the pack. We have seen a few times today where the tandem racing does seem to get everybody going pretty quickly, but I'm wondering if the engine temperatures is the factor of why we see the packs forming back up again. Excuse me as I had to sneeze there for a second, but to finish my point, right now, I think as the pits go, they better try to split up this pack just a little bit, because going down pit road with this many cars would be a disaster.
Fortunately, it shouldn't have to happen for another 4 laps because they're only just completing lap 18 right now. Ricky Hardin last lap was taking a look for the lead. He had no partners. He fell all the way back to 8th after challenging for the top spot a lap ago. That's just how super speedway racing works. The high line isn't able to make any passes, and that's why, Brian, if you're leading, you want to defend on the low line, but if you want to pass, you go to the high line, and then you really have a 50-50 chance of being able to make it work or not. Some people, like Adam Blatto and Jonathan Cadell, who have been working together all race, they have been able to make it work and get up to positions 1 and 2. Ricky Hardin wasn't able to make it work, at least he wasn't last lap. This lap he seems to have a good run going. Him and the Bass Pro Shops truck of Jeff Ryan are really making that high line work. And right below them is our sponsored driver, Jared Haggerty, in the 57.
Snatched it right out of my tongue. I was going to say, Haggerty started in 16th place and he's worked his way up to 4th. Might as well call it a 5th right now, though, as we have Hardin and Ryan, I believe it is, in the Bass Pro Shops car, as you pointed out. Both trying to make a good push on the outside, not really having enough pace or speed to get around, but Adam Blattell is definitely feeling the pressure, as every time around so far he's had somebody up there crowding his little wiggle room, as I like to call it, and now he's being forced to hold a perfect line if he wants to stay in the lead.
We'll keep an eye on this first pack, running pretty much 2x2 throughout the whole way through, and we want to we want to make sure that we don't miss anything. Meanwhile, I will tell you that the second pack kind of split up a little bit. Actually, no, they didn't. 17th on back is still in the second pack, being led by Gary Whitson, and they're all single file. So now they finally got to the point where they're trying to work together and run down this lead pack, which is still being led by Blattel and Cadell.
Blattel and Cadell coming around, as we see now Jared Haggerty looking for air. His noses keep going down below that double yellow, trying to get all the cold air he can. And it looks like the top side of Hardin and Ryan are both petering out, but it looks like Aaron Cleanhands has kind of gotten involved there. So is Rendell and one other. I did not see who it was. But the top side, they're just forming up and trying to do the best they can. And it looks like now, I believe it's Hardin and Blattell are starting to pull away just slightly as Jared Haggerty latches under the back of them.
Alright, it's lap 21. If anyone really wanted to stretch it, they would come into the pits now, but it doesn't look like anyone does want to stretch it. But I'll tell you something that's about to happen here, Brian. Look at Steve Bahala. He is over in turns 1 and 2, running all by his lonesome. He's going about 10 miles an hour slower than these guys. Now, I'm curious to see Steve Bahala goes... He's on the apron, but... he's really going to have to slow down there, because I don't think a fielder going to be able to get by him before turns 3 and 4. Look how slow Steve Bahala is going. Even if a caution came out right now, I'm not sure he'd be able to get back on the lead lap, because now he's got the second pack coming up behind him. This is going to be a race to forget for Steve Bahala right now, but who knows? It's a long race. Maybe we'll have a bunch of cautions and he'll be up there contending for the win at the end of it.
I heard Steve over the scanner trying to say he was intending on going low to get out of the way of the cars coming around the track. Typically in over racing, the preferred thing to do is send them up to the top side so they can keep up the speed and not become a risk for hitting the apron and coming up the track later on in the corner. But I think with the speed he is going, there was no chance for him being hit. Like you said, though, however, that it's going to put a huge damper on his day, because now he needs a yellow and a lucky dog if he wants any chance of getting back up in the lead.
While the lead pack continues to run side by... And there we go, we hear James Krahula, who, remember, went off on the first lap. He is saying he is coming into the pits. Tim Johnston says he is coming into the pits. This is lap 23, and the first pack stays out, but I have a feeling a lot of drivers from the second pack are going to be coming in. It's about 50-50. Gary Whitson leading them in. There's no contact coming into the pits. Tim Johnson, Bryce Whitson, James Krahula, Christopher Ginn, Jeffrey Belt and Michael Krobach, a couple of drivers we haven't mentioned today, they're all into the pits, and they're going to hope that they don't shoot their pit stall, Brian, because their goal will be to come out in a pack as well.
Sounds like Jim Foose and Michael Kunik are both also coming to the pits, as they have been announcing over the scanner. It's going to be interesting to see now, though, because they are a little bit further. I think they wanted to pit a little bit earlier if they wanted to avoid the pack leaving them behind. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. The 104 and the 29 are both coming around the the pit entrance here. No one seems to be going in. They're going to try and stretch this as far as they can go, Sam.
Yes, and as you say, Jim Fuchs and Michael Koenig come in, and they're going to hope that they come out with the pack that is currently emerging on turns 3 and 4. And I was just watching Alex Bates right there. He was up on the banking a lot earlier than the rest of the field was. I don't know if I'll give him a penalty before the end of the race on that one. Meanwhile, though, the lead pack is still beginning to run side by side again. I'm having a feeling they're going to try and run it till it's dry. Although, mind you, from what we heard before the race, Brian, that's only about 3 or 4 laps away.
If I'm Dan Murray, and I think that's the 22 behind him, I could be wrong. Yeah, that's the 22 of Keith Medeiros. They're in a spot I would really dread to be at this point of the race, on the outside. How do you get down to the pit road entrance if you were on the outside at the time coming? You got to be very brave, Sam. That's all I got to say about that.
I think the answer is you don't. Meanwhile, Michael Koenig and Jim Fuchs, I don't know what they did wrong, but they're going to come out behind the tail end of the guys who pitted the lap before them, so they're really going to hope for caution. Michael Krobach looks like he had a very bad stop because he's behind them, and right behind all these guys are the leaders about to run them down. Dan Murray has taken the lead, and he has left Keith Medeiros, who we haven't mentioned as much as we probably should have. He has left him out to dry, and I'm very curious because we're hearing a lot of drivers are about to pit in this lap, and I'm thinking we might begin to see some of this lead pack coming in. No, that's not the case this lap. It must be from the second pack.
Well, Bryce Whitson did say that they can go anywhere between 27 and 28 laps on fuel. If they were minding their own business and playing nice, they could probably stretch it one more lap. I wouldn't expect them to go past 28, though. So this time around, I'm guessing the whole entire group's going to be coming down pit road.
Yeah, Scott Smith has been saying he's coming in. Stephen Pettit, all drivers we haven't really had the chance to mention today because the action up front has been so exciting, but I have a feeling that once these pit stops are done, all that patience you saw in the second pack early on in the race, that's going to be thrown out the window. Now, here comes the field. It is lap 27. They are coming out of turn 4. Are any of them going to be coming into the pits? Some of them are, but not all of them. And it's at the tail end of the lead pack. Reed Randell is coming in. Jeff Ryan, I think, thought about coming in, but then actually decided against it, and that's going to cost him a lot of time. Also coming in are Keith Medeiros, Scott Smith, and Jamie Moore.
Dan Murray still leading the pack. I haven't seen anybody up front looking about going down pit road yet, not even humoring the idea. We are on lap 28. They have got to be screaming for fuel. And as close as everyone's racing, I'm guessing temperature's starting to get hot too because we see Jared Haggerty dipping below that yellow line once again. Right behind him, we have Aaron Cleanhands, very close indeed. Right after that, we have Ricky Harden, who's fallen back quite a ways, but he is still in the front pack and trying to get as much fuel mileage as he can. Right now, Dan Murray's in the hot seat in first place, but he is using a lot of fuel, busting that air open for everyone else. And now we see lots of cars coming down pit road. We got the 104, the 57, the 28, the 5, and I believe a few others, but it looks like a few cars that have not pit yet are trying to go one more lap. Sam, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all shapes out.
Yeah, you don't want to run out of fuel around Daytona, that's for sure. But as you say, the leaders are coming in, being led by Dan Murray. Let's see if he overshoots his pit stall. If he doesn't, he should get out with the lead. And he does not indeed. Like I say, I don't think we'll see anyone taking tyres this race. So hopefully they're all going to have good stops. You see Jared Haggerty in there as well. Paul Boswell, Adam Blattel. Adam Blattel challenging Ricky Harden for the lead as they come out of the pits, but he won't get it. It looks like it was a clean pit stop for those guys. Meanwhile, let's go over to turns 3 and 4. Where's our leader? Who is our leader, first of all? Here they come. Ricky Harden's leading them into the pits. He was the leader. He is leading Tommy Ryan in the Northern Tools truck. Benny Ellison, and who's that? That is Jesse Fowler. Those four look like they were able to run it to lap 28, and providing they're able to cycle out without a caution, it looks like the packs will be able to reform and will be racing to the end here, Brian.
Absolutely, and I'm looking at Rundell as he goes screaming past with Alex Bates, I think that was. Everyone switched their positions to get situated in the pack once again. I do want to point out that Jonathan Cadell, who is running up very close to the front, has fallen back immensely. He came into his pit stall slightly crooked, so that's going to add a little bit of time. And then coming out of the pits, he spun his tires quite a bit, giving positions to 2 or 3 other drivers. So not the greatest pit stop for Mr. Jonathan Cadell.
Yeah, Jesse Fowler also overshot his pit stall, and I'm hearing that someone has disconnected from the race, but he's not the driver, so he had a couple of spectators in here, and why not? It's exciting racing. But meantime, it looks like when all's said and done, Dan Murray is going to be leading a pack of about 7 trucks, it looks like. That ends with Aaron Kleinhans in the number 85 truck. Then we have a pack of 7 trucks behind them being led by Christopher Ginn, and the tail end of that pack is James Krahula, so he could still be in contention at the end of this. And then honestly, everyone who had a bad pit stop is kind of spread out single file around the rest of the track after that. And Ricky Hardin is in the lead as they complete lap 30, 20 laps left to go.
Yeah, I'm going to say this has been a very exciting first half of the race. Everyone's playing nice and clean. I haven't seen any questionable moves or contacts yet in the race. I hope I don't jinx them with the commentator's curse. But right now, Ricky Hardin looking very strong, being pushed by Tommy Ryan. Benny Ellison and Dan Murray not too far behind, working the outside, also trying to get around to the top. And then, of course, we have a few other drivers joining the mix now as everyone's pits have filed through. It looks like the pack did pit on an average pretty good because they're all forming back up once again.
Oh, we got a crash in the second pack. Christopher Ginn, Bryce Whitson, the champion, Jeffrey Belt, and we're going to get a replay here. There are about 6 trucks involved in this, including Keith Medeiros and your champion, Bryce Whitson. They were trying to push each other and catch up with the lead pack, and it all ended in tears over in turn 3.
It looks like I spoke too soon with the commentator's curse while the race officials are trying to sort this out. Sam, do we have a replay queued up?
Yes, we have been watching the replay. We ride on board Christopher Ginn. Listen, I think you'll hear that. He basically gets lifted going into the turns. Oh no, look at that. The truck in front of him, Bryce Whitson, tried to come down, and Christopher Ginn, he wasn't clear of Christopher Ginn. So I'm wondering if Bryce got pushed into that position, or if it was a clear driver error by our champion. We'll get an external view here. Watch the 00 truck. I'm gonna think he's got no pressure from behind. He just thought he was clear. He was trying to go with the truck in front of him. Misjudged it, got into Christopher Ginn, and a very unfortunate mistake for our champion to make. However, Brian, I think the great thing about this is there aren't trucks that are too badly torn up. I mean, they're all going to be suffering a little bit aerodynamically, but I think they're all going to be able to finish this on the lead lap still.
Yeah, the 62 of Christopher Ginn looks like he got the worst of it, and it's only the rear end damage too much, I think, so he should still be able to race. He's not going to be contending for a win today, but I think he should be able to get enough of a position where he can score some good points. But Sam, you know, that's a common mistake that people make here at Daytona. You got such a long straightaway, it's really easy to lose perspective of where the cars are in relative position to the lanes. It's not like Talladega where you got 3 lines all the way up the track, kind of separating your reference points. So it's really easy to be looking off thinking you're all safe and clear, then all of a sudden you're spinning somebody down the infield when you're going with them. So common mistake, no one's fault really. I think it's a racing deal, and hopefully we'll get back to some good racing.
Yes, we will get back to some good racing. Obviously, we're not going to see that many cars, at least the ones that don't have damage on them, down pit road, because they just all came into the pit. So while we have this short break in the action, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
The rear end was the weakest point, and the rear ends were breaking. The film strength that AMSOIL provides is what I needed. The AMSOIL rear end lubrication was keeping the metal apart. We accomplished big things with so little effort. Just changed the rear end lube to AMSOIL. Totally did it.
Hello and welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. That was a very short 30 seconds, wasn't it? Anyhow, we're watching the back of the field get caught up with one another here. A couple of trucks, I'm sure, are going to be coming down pit road, including James Krahula, who has a bit of damage on the front end. But let's pay attention to the truck right behind James Krahula, and that is number and that's the number 38 of Tim Johnson. We were going to interview him, however, he's actually coming into the pits right now, so I have a feeling that would be a bad time to do so. So, while the light's on the pace car, let's run down the order right now for you. Ricky Hardin is leading this race, followed by Tommy Ryan, Benny Ellison, Dan Murray, Adam Blattel, Reed Rundell, Jonathan Cadell, Aaron Cleanhands, Jared Haggerty, our sponsored driver, and Gary Whitson in the top 10. And I want to note something, Brian. Before we went to air, well, actually, before the race started, when we were on there, I said that I didn't really know a lot of the drivers who were up in the top 10. I can tell you this top 10 list right now looks a lot more familiar to me. It's showing you how the cream really rises to the top as the laps tick off.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, and I'm looking at the list right now. We got a bunch of fast movers in the front of the pack. Benny Ellison qualified 14th. He's now sitting in 3rd. Dan Murray started 17th. He started 4th. And then if you go down the list a little further, Jared Haggerty started 16th. He's sitting in 9th. And to round out the top 10, Gary B. Whitson started 24th. He's now in 10th. So, like you said, a lot of fast drivers working their way to the top. It's not so much qualifying here. It's playing the strategy and looking out for the big one.
Yeah, and as the field are getting double file coming around to complete lap 4 here, sorry, to complete lap 34, I don't know where 4 came from. As they come around to complete lap 34, they're getting double file. I have a feeling that means the pace lights are going to go off, and I have a feeling that means Tim Johnson, who is at the back of his pack, is not going to want to talk to us. So let's talk about our sponsor driver a little bit, Jared Haggerty. Unless I'm very much mistaken, he was one of the drivers who made it into the chase last season. I'm just going to check the point standings here. I hope I don't click anything wrong. And there's my Mobby Walker for the day. I am very much mistaken. He didn't make it into the chase last season, but I know he certainly ran up there in the top 10 a lot last season. Although every now and then it seemed to get involved in a couple of incidents, and that's not necessarily always a bad thing, Brian. Sometimes we see ASRS as a very competitive series. To be able to run as fast as these guys are, sometimes you have to go through a learning curve, and sometimes that does mean, unfortunately, you shake off a couple of fenders in the process.
Absolutely, and it's not, I would say that's pretty much the same with most leagues, though. I mean, league racers are the dedicated diehards that seem to put a lot of practice and stock into how they finish. So, of course, you're going to get a lot of good battles, a lot of hard-fought wins, and that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. Some of the fastest guys may have a bad day where they wreck out, and some of the fastest guys will dominate like we've seen from Ricky Hardin today. So it kind of goes both ways, especially with ASRS. I hope I got that sponsor name right as I cough my way through it. Everyone seems to be doing the best they can here, and it's been a very good race. We didn't get a yellow until about lap 30, so it just shows the quality of the racing here.
Alright, I finally found Jared Haggerty, and I know we're about to go green flag racing. His result from last season, he was 28th in the points. Now that doesn't sound too great until I say that there were 94 trucks that competed last season, and Jared Haggerty was only in 8 races, scored 6 top 10s. Meanwhile, the green flag is back out for the first restart of the day, and Ricky Hardin leads on the inside, Tommy Ryan leads on the high side.
I don't know if Ryan had a bad start there or not, but it looks like he bobbled just a tiny bit trying to get on the gas. And all good, though, because he's getting pushed by Dan Murray just behind him. On the bottom side, the 05 is also pushing very hard and looking very good. And now the 104 is getting into the mix, so everyone's scattering around already. It looks like the bottom side getting a better push to start out, but now the pack's coming in real quick behind him. That door is closing very quickly, Sam.
And incredible, even after 35 laps and 1 wreck, we still have 29 of the 31 starters left on the lead lap, and they're running very close quarters, so those numbers could change very quickly, because Ricky Hardin is currently leading the low line with Benny Ellison right behind him. He's been up there all day, but not necessarily up there. But also, watch out for Adam Blattel and Jonathan Cadell. We saw those two working very well early on. However, right now, they're in the high line and the low line. They're not able to work with one another, and it's going to take them a while until they're able to switch over because both lines are so crowded right now.
Couple cars blinking in the back of the field, but overall, everyone's staying nice and clean. It looks like we have a good pack here. The 05 of, I believe that's Ellison, is pushing hard on the bottom. They're trying to get some space, but everyone's just filing in. I like the way this fixed setup's really playing out in the competition. It just seems like It's really taken the tandem racing out of the fight, and it's really down to the driver to do the best he can to get to the front, and it's making for some great racing here today. But it does look like the number 15 car is starting to get a little bit of a lead, and we are getting in the crunch time, so it's going to be interesting to see if anybody can pull up to them, as we see Jared Haggerty work on the bottom side as well. Sam, I'm lost for words right now. It's been a good race overall.
Look at Tommy Ryan trying to come down, making sure he can get in front of Jared Haggerty. Now, usually when I'm driving along in my truck and another truck cuts me off on the road, I'm pretty annoyed at him. But honestly, if a truck cuts you off at Daytona, it might actually help you out because you get a stronger draft off of him. Maybe Jared will be able to work with Ricky in the closing laps here. They're coming around to complete lap 38 of 50, and let's not forget that this might only be an 8-lap race right now, because iRacing does not have green-white checkers. If a caution comes out with 4 laps to go, that will end it. Meanwhile, there has already been a breakaway of packs. The top 15 trucks have ran away from a second pack being led by Michael Krobach. And that's not good news for the drivers in the second pack, unless of course everyone in the first pack wrecks, which is a possibility. And here comes Adam Blatto and Jonathan Cadell. They have teamed up together again on that high line, and we have seen them be a dominant force throughout most of the race.
I hate to jinx him, but I think Boitel's going to try and pull a quick one on his buddy behind him and take that lead if he gets up there. They only got about 10 laps to go in this race, and they are getting a little stressed out here. And there we go. Blattel takes the lead right in front of Ricky Harden. Both very good pushers. I would like to see the 29 to get up in the front because he's had a good race all day, but that's sometimes just how it goes in racing. Now we see Benny Ellison, 3 cars back on the bottom side, bobbling on that yellow line, losing a ton of speed as Blattel and Harden are both pulling away. Now we have 2 pairs on the top side working very hard to get that lead position, but it looks like Blattel and Harden are the faster of the 2.
11 laps left to go. We have about a 15 truck breakaway. All 15 trucks across the line within a second of another last time by, and that tells you something, doesn't it? Sometimes in motor racing, like Honda 2 CVs, you have a second to react. Well, in trucks, in 1 second, you can go from 15th to 1st, so you don't really have a heck of a lot of reaction time, which has its consequences, unfortunately, at Daytona and Talladega super speedways. Meanwhile, Adam and Ricky are running very strong on that low line, but give a shout out to Jonathan Cadell being pushed by Dan Murray on the high side. These top 4 are probably going to try and break away from the pack tandem here, but I don't think that's going to work, Brian, because of what you've been pointing out all race, that these trucks seem to be overheating rather quickly.
Yeah, and on top of that, Dan Murray...
Crash behind
we have a big crash in the tri-oval coming into turn 1. I did not see who it was, but I did see cars flying through the grass.
It's Paul Boswell. Look, he's coming back up on the field in front of a second pack. The 97 truck of Paul Boswell got turned coming out of a tri-oval, and it could have been easily, it could have just been a spin through the grass, but unfortunately at Daytona and Talladega and oval tracks, what goes down must come up if it doesn't slow down in time.
Trying to see for myself what exactly happened here. All I saw from my point of view was a bunch of cars flying through the grass, Sam. That was a very interesting time in the race for everyone to have a crash, because now when they come back to green, there will be about 4 or 5 laps left to really duke it out.
You took the words right out of my mouth, as Meatloaf would say, only not in the way Meatloaf would say it. And I'll tell you, one of the worst drivers to come out of that incident is Jeff Ryan at number 39. Beautiful Bass Pro Shops truck has a lot of heavy smoke out the back of it as we continue to watch a replay. Now we go back to live action. And we're watching the field try and catch up with the pace car here. That might take a little while. James Krahola, Jeff Ryan all bent up. Michael Krobach in the pits. Jeffrey Belt in the pits. Paul Boswell, the truck who spun. And, I mean, it's not necessarily that the incident may have been entirely his fault, but unfortunately when you're in the grass in the infield, there's not a whole lot you can do. And like I say, you just slide up on the track and... it's hard to find an analogy for that. It's just something that happens at these super speedway races sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched the incident from my own camera a few times now, Sam, and I find it hard to really put any blame into anyone in that one. It was just hard racing, and And the number 10 of the Valvoline truck there got just a little too hard to the back of the number 97, and before long everyone was crashing. So this is one of those things, and hopefully these last 5 go a little bit cleaner, but we had a great race so far, and I really feel bad for Mr. Boswell on that one.
Yep. The field getting double file, but the lights are still on the pace car. The drivers who made it through are Adam Blattel, Ricky Harden, Jonathan Cadell, Dan Murray, Benny Ellison, Tommy Ryan, Reed Rundell, Jared Haggerty, Keith Medeiros, and Aaron Kleinhans. They will be your top 10 when we go back to green flag racing here. And one thing that I noticed immediately from that, Brian, is Adam Blattel first and Jonathan Cadell third. They've been the dominant force all race when they've been able to work together, and they'll be able to restart one behind the other when we get the green flag here.
Well, I could say the same thing about Ricky Harden and Dan Murray, though, on the outside. Both of them have been pushing very well. It's going to be very interesting to see who ends up on top here. If I had to take my pick, though, I'm going to go with Adam Blattel.
I am too, and I think one of the key things here is that Adam Blattel has never been pushing Jonathan Cadell. Cadell has been pushing Blattel all the way throughout the race, and I kind of hope that they do finish up there and we get to talk to them after the race, because I want to know if that was planned in advance. Did they say to each other, hey, let's work during the race, and just to avoid controversy, you can finish first, and I'll be willing to finish second. I just want to get out of here with the points.
Yeah, at this point in the season, you know, a win would be great and all, but it's all about the points, and you can't really scoff too much at a second or a third place finish in this case for any of these drivers. So just the fact that they were able to stay in the front and avoid the wrecks is a pretty good achievement in its own right, and that's just, it's going to build on the foundations for a good season as we go forward in this long ASRS season.
Yes, and meanwhile, as we continue the round under caution here, the pace lights are still on, and we've pretty much reported who's up front and who has fallen by the wayside, so we're going to take another commercial break. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Friction is heat. You know, you take an engine where the lifter goes up and down, pushes the valve up and down, it really gets hot right there. That's where oil breaks down and where we have failures. AMSOIL, on the other hand, it's a true synthetic lubricant. It's just idling right there. It doesn't even know it's being used. In other words, 300 degrees is whole to AMSOIL.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. They are coming around to complete lap 44 after our second incident of the day. This is our second caution of the day, and even if the pace lights go off, that means they will restart at the completion of lap 45, which will be with 5 laps left to go. I have a feeling any more incidents, Brian, and that will end this race, so hopefully they'll be able to keep it clean and green to the end.
Yes, indeed. And for the viewers who are out there that haven't experienced iRacing.com's service, there is no green-white checkered kind of finish, so it's really hard to be an admin here and just kind of let the race play out under yellow. It's kind of the sad way to go, but unfortunately that's just the state of how things are right now. So Blattel right now is really hoping that if another yellow is to come out, he is long in the lead when it happens, because at this point the race would be over. Ricky Harden on the other chance, he has a good chance as well to get a lead. If he gets a good push and a yellow comes out, that's all it really takes at this point. So it's going to come down to being very, very nervous about who gets a good jump here in the start and how long they can sustain that momentum going forward.
Well, knowing that we would probably see a few caution laps during this race, we were able to find out some information about our sponsored driver, Jared Haggerty, and since there's not a heck of a lot more to talk about before the green flag gets shown again, let's mention that Jared is actually a contract cosplayer for Saban and Power Rangers and a fan of the Power Ranger show. And I hate to say, I mean, he's a great driver, but at the end of the day, I think restarting from 8th place with 5 laps to go, you're going to need some of that Power Ranger power to get to the front from back there, Brian.
Absolutely, Power Rangers and go, or what? I forget what the slogan is. That's a little bit of from my childhood. Go Power Rangers. That's the one that is there. And yeah, let's see if Jared Haggerty can go to the front in these last couple of laps.
If Jared Haggerty wins this race, that is what I am saying when he crosses the finish line. I'm just putting it out there now. You can quote me on it. Anyhow, the pace car lights are off, and as we mentioned before, this is a completion of lap 45. Adam Blatto on the gas early, and that could be bad because the rest of the field will eat him up coming into turns 1 and 2. However, I have a feeling Jonathan Cadell will push him. But look at this, they're all getting single file. Dan Murray has even gone down to the bottom. He has left Ricky Harding out to dry on that high line.
That was a very curious start there. We saw one car shoot way off and another car just kind of jump down into the bottom side. I almost think that was orchestrated in a way, not maybe that particular call of events, but I think something was going to happen there, and then it kind of did not happen. So right now, it's very...
caution!
Ooh, another caution. That's unfortunate.
Steve Puhala is going backwards. Tim Johnson had to go in the grass. I don't think there were a lot of cars. I don't really think it was a big wreck, but unfortunately it may end this race.
Let's see here, we're on lap 42, typically yellows.
It looks like Steve Puhala disappeared and the other competitors didn't know where he was. And they were running 3 wide, which doesn't help things. But yeah, unfortunately, all it was a spinning truck. Nothing really that bad, but it does put us under caution. And hope upon hopes is that this hasn't finished the race, although I have a feeling Adam Blatto would be very glad if it did.
See if we can find where the pace car is on the track right now. Last I saw, we were on lap 43. Typically, pit sessions here can go up to about 4 or 5 laps, so that would, in that case, indicate that we'd have 1 lap, but it sounds like a lot of drivers are congratulating the winner, who would in this case be Adam Blattel. It's going to be interesting to see how the admins can get the pace car off the track if possible.
Adam Blattel is leading the field through turns 3 and 4 right now as they come to the completion of 47, and as you say, there are a lot of drivers talking. I confess I can't actually hear what they're saying. Are they saying congratulations, Adam, or are they saying yes, we think we'll have a 1-lap shootout to the end? Because I wouldn't count either out of a possibility right now.
I'm looking at the pit road. It looks like everybody that was involved may be off, except for maybe one driver who is already in there. And yeah, it looks like the field kind of a little change in what we expected. Jonathan Goodell made it up to the top. Ricky Hardin moved back to 3rd, and Dan Murray stayed in 4th. So yeah, I guess in its own right, the only person that really lost there, who was I thinking of? Wasn't Jared Haggerty. Anyways, the point escaped my mind. Back to you, Sam.
So, Steve Puhala, who actually got the wave around under the last caution. If you remember, he completely lost the draft early on. Meanwhile, talking about getting a wave around, it looks like someone's getting a wave around here. I'm not sure how much that will help them out, but that's Alex Bates in the squashed up number 45 truck. That might gain him a position or 2. We'll wait and see. Now, the indication here would be if a field is going double file or not. Because if they know they're going to restart at the completion of lap 49, that they would double file, but I don't really see them double filing here. Let's put it this way, they're coming around to complete lap 48. The pace car lights would have to go off this time by if the race was over. Sorry, if we were going to have a 1-lap shootout.
At this point, I guess everyone's waiting, but it sounds like on the radio chatter, everyone thinks that it's done. So unless everyone's underestimating the pit cycle here, we might be looking at our winner in Adam Littell.
Still a lot of trucks in the pit road, but they could be getting required repairs for all we know. Like we say, we'll find out in about 5 to 10 seconds here because of the pace car lights stay on. And they do. So, Adam Blattell, providing he has Adam Blattell rather, providing he has enough fuel to make it around to the end and his connection holds up, should be your first winner of the 2015 ASRS AMSOIL Truck Series, providing he can make it around 5 more miles under this yellow flag.
Well, Sam, I mean, there's not a whole lot we can really say about the race at this point without spoiling the interviews later, but I think this went a lot better than I anticipated originally. Usually at Daytona, everybody, especially in the first race of the season, it's really easy to just get tensed up and kind of shake the cobwebs off. I know these guys are regular racings here on iRacing, so that shouldn't be an issue with them, but, you know, it's always that moment of getting in the car for the first time in a specific series that gets people's juices boiling, and I was really impressed to see it. Only 2 major crashes and 1 unfortunate miscommunication between drivers here. That was an overall very great race.
And the great thing about it is it looks like we are going to end with 26 trucks on the lead lap. So even though we saw some pretty hard knocks, we're still going to end with a respectable amount of trucks on the lead lap. Meanwhile, our last season's championship fighters and cousins, Bryce Whitson, is going to be credited with a 21st place finish. Gary Whitson is going to be credited with an 11th place finish, providing nothing changes in the last 3 miles or so. And they're going to have their work cut out for them when we go to Atlanta next week. White flag is in the air as Adam Blattell comes across the checkered stripe on the track right there and takes the white flag. Next time around, he'll take the checkered flag.
I'm just listening to the scanner. Everybody pretty different feelings about the ending of this race. Everyone overall congratulating the leader and Adam Blattell. Sounds like Jim Foose, one of the higher up people in this league, is going out and talking about next week's race at Atlanta. And, you know, looking forward to Atlanta. That's a very tricky track as it is, but the trucks there have been traditionally pretty challenging at that track, so we should see a good race. We kind of set the bar high with a 26 lead lap finish, but you know, with ASRS, I think we can match that next week, and I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot of these drivers returning with a rejuvenated step as we finished here under yellow. No one likes to end that way, but I have to say congratulations to our winners.
Yeah, and let's say congratulations to Jonathan Cadell, who is going to finish second right behind Adam Blattell, because he pushed Adam there, and we hopefully will get to interview them both and see if this was orchestrated from the get-go. Ricky Hardin and Dan Murray are going to finish third and fourth rather. Tommy Ryan is going to round out this race with the top 5, and that's very good for him, considering I don't think we ever really talked about him at all. Benny Ellison, Jared Haggerty, Go-Go Power Rangers, he was able to get up from 8th to 7th in that final run. I'm sure he'll take that. Aaron Kleinhans there in 8th, Reed Rundell, a new name in 9th, and Keith Medeiros in 10th. Now, these drivers better be careful they don't beat each other to the line in the order they're not supposed to be in, because they could get black flagged, but they go 3 wide across the stripe. But it is going to be Adam Blattell who wins the race, and for the fun of it, how much did he win it by? 0.062 seconds over Cadell. That's probably how close they would have been if it had stayed green as well.
One can only imagine.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back with interviews from the drivers, let them do their cool-down lap here, although they're doing a cool-down lap at 160 miles an hour. Oh, the joys of sim racing. And then we'll get to find out all their thoughts leaving Daytona and entering Atlanta, because we've certainly got some new names this season that we are glad to have on board, and we'll find out what their plans are for the next 20 or so races throughout the course of a year.
The rear end was the weakest point, and the rear ends were breaking. The film strength that AMSOIL provides is what I needed. The AMSOIL rear-end lubrication was keeping the metal apart. We accomplished big things with so little effort. Just changed the rear-end lube to AMSOIL. Totally did it.
Hello and welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where we just saw round one of a 2015 ASRS AMSOIL Truck Series, which was won by Adam Blattel in a very exciting race that unfortunately ended under caution, but oh well, you have that sometimes in big-time auto racing. Adam Blattel took a checkered flag, followed by 0.062 seconds by Jonathan Cadell, but that was entirely orchestrated under the yellow flag. Ricky Harding got third, followed by Dan Murray, pushing him home in fourth. Tommy Ryan rounded out the top five, with Benny Ellison in sixth. Our driver who sponsored this race, Jared Haggerty, was in seventh. Aaron Kleinhans was in eighth after having his birthday yesterday. Reed Rundell was ninth, and then Keith Medeiros rounded out the top 10. Brian?
Gary B. Whitson came in 11th. Jamie Moore, 12th. Stephen Pettit came in 13th. Scott Smith, 14th. Michael Koenig, one of the accident people today, came in 5th. Jesse A. Fowler came in 16th. Stephen Marks came in 17th. Jim Foose, the league president, came in 18th, followed by another wrecked out driver, Christopher Ginn. Number 20 was Jason Christian. Bryce Whitson came in 21st. David W. Gibson came in 22nd. Daniel Vining, 23rd. Jim Johnson, 24th. James Kahula, 25th. Alex Bates, 26th. Steve Bulaha, can't get that name right. Buhala. I'll get it someday. Sorry, Steve. And he came in 27th. Jeffrey Belt came in 28th. Jeffrey Ryan, 29th. And the rest of the field with Michael Kroback and Paul Boswell all wrecked out, multiple laps down. Back to you, Sam.
Yes, and then our two non-starters, DJ Beverly and Carson Orbe. Very unfortunate to see James Kahula all the way back in 25th. Remember, he was the one who almost lost it on the first lap, wasn't able to make it up. And I see we've got a lot of people there in our interview booth, and I apologise in advance that we won't be able to get to talk to all of them. But we will start with our third place finisher, Ricky Harding, who is coming in right now. Ricky Harding, congratulations on a third place finish. We're sure you probably would have wanted a couple spots more, but this is a good start to the season for a driver who, honestly, I think could be a championship contender.
Thank you, Samuel. We had a really good run today. I was up front all day. I can't complain about that one bit. I would have loved to get up there and been able to battle for the win, but you know, the cautions kept coming.
We saw you were working very much with Dan Murray throughout the race, whereas Adam Blattel and Jonathan Cadell were kind of working together. Was that just a coincidence, or was that orchestrated?
That's just how we were lined up there at the end of the race. It wasn't really planned. I think Jonathan Cottle and Dan Murray were trying to work with each other, and they were also working with Adam Blattel a little bit. At the end, I was trying to get hooked up with Tommy Ryan. We finally got hooked up, and the caution came out. So my other teammate for Benny Ellison and James Krahula and Jesse Fowler, I didn't get to see much of them, though.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Ricky, we've got to keep it kind of short because we've got a lot of people lined up to talk to us. But like I say, we know you were one of the front runners last season. This is a great start to your season this year. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we head off to Atlanta next week?
Yep, thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Thanks to Adam Blattel and AMSOIL for putting the series on, and we'll see you next week.
All right, we look forward to it, Ricky, and take care, and we'll see you at Atlanta. Meanwhile, my co-commentator, Brian Corwin, has caught up with our second place finisher, Jonathan Cadell. So I'll hand it over to you, Brian.
Well, Jonathan, we had a great race today. Everyone pushing very hard up in the front of the field. What was it like staying up there in the front?
I felt like always a bridesmaid, never a bride. I was in second all night, never got to lead a lap, but it's pretty nice being up front, getting to hang out with my teammates and everything.
Now, this is a fixed series race. For those who are just now watching the series, fixed means all the cars are identical. The setups are the same, and it comes down to the driver doing well. How did the fixed setup do out there in the pack racing today? Was the cars getting overheated? Was it hard to stay in a tandem? Were you guys trying to stay in a pack? What was that like?
The overheating wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I managed to push Blottle there for quite a while without needing too much cooling off. I'd pull off out of line every once in a while, but the setup seemed to be pretty good. You could catch up to the pack if you lost a little bit of the draft, and Pretty much do what you want. It was just a bunch of chess playing out there, and setup really didn't affect how I drove too much.
With that being said, I believe next week is Atlanta. Do you have any preference at Atlanta?
Uh, I kind of like a slightly loose car at Atlanta, or a loose truck, excuse me. Because Atlanta, the tires seem to wear off so fast, and you can come off of turn 2 there, and it'll tighten up on you really quick, and you'll go straight in the wall. So I like to have it slightly loose, because of the tire wear.
Well, thanks for coming down and talk to us. Congratulations on your second place finish. We wish that it was under green, but that's sometimes how racing goes here on iRacing.com. Appreciate you coming down and talking to us.
Oh, thank you, sir.
That was Jonathan Cadell. He finished in second place, as we mentioned. The driver who finished one spot in front of him was our winner today of the opening race of the season, and that was Adam Blattel. And Adam, first, I apologize for butchering your name throughout the broadcast, but congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
And also, congratulations on bringing the sponsor, AMSOIL, over to this series. There's your reward. You were able to walk away with first place today. We noticed that you were working with Jonathan Cadell pretty much from the get-go. You were able to get right up to the front after starting 9th on the grid. Was that your plan? Had you two agreed to work with each other before the green flag?
Yeah, we talked a little bit before the race. I'm an independent driver, but I do have a team alliance, and help with Steel Horse Racing. They've always been very nice to me, and they've always been willing to help. So anytime I see their guys on the track, I definitely want to pair up with them. Jonathan and Dan have had a great last couple weeks, winning some really big races. So anytime they're on the track, you want to stay around the Steel Horse guys for sure.
Absolutely. Well, it certainly paid off for you today. Would you consider super speedway racing your speciality? Because I know most of the series is made up of speedway races. Do you think you could potentially be a contender for this championship?
We're definitely going to give her hell in the championship for sure. I wouldn't say I'm really good on the super speedways. My plan tonight was really to push guys. So just the way it shook out, I ended up being up front and had some great help. So we're definitely going to be a strong contender. We're going to race really hard, and this is an extremely stacked field here at ASRS, and I was really just nervous making the show. So Jim's got a great thing going here, and we're excited about the season.
Absolutely. So well, congratulations on your win. I will ask you one more question before you go. The number 104, how did that come about?
The 104 goes back to in 3 days, back in the late 90s. My original sponsor back then was 104 Octane Boost. But do want to thank Live Strong Foundation. Thinking about my stepdad tonight. He is recovering right now from cancer, so we're thinking about him, and this win's definitely for him.
Well, we're thinking of him too, and well done on bringing it home, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the Global Sim Racing channel. You guys do a great job. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. We always like to please our customers. Anyhow, we got a couple more interviews to go before we're done. It looks like a couple people have exited out, so we will speak with Jared Haggerty here, who was our sponsored driver, the driver who actually paid to put this race on. And Jared Haggerty, you were able to come home in 7th place after starting 16th. You pleased with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, we have a little bit of scoring issue going on here after the race, but we should be able to get that resolved. But I'm really happy with the 7th place finish. The car ran really good today. I got it as high as 3rd, and overall, the Power Rangers Now Charge Chevy Silverado did really good today in the draft, and I'd like to thank Jim Foose for putting on the league here. I'm happy to actually finally get a good run in this season, and hopefully we continue our luck throughout the rest of the season.
Yes, now I must confess, during the middle of a broadcast, I had to apologize to the viewers because I recalled you being an up-front runner last season, and I said I'm pretty sure he made the chase. Well, that wasn't the case. You were only in 8 of the races last season, but you were able to get top 10 finishes in 6 of them. So you've proved you're a consistent runner, that you're regularly up front there. Is the chase certainly something on your mind? for this season?
Oh yeah, man. The chase is something that's definitely been on my mind since last season. I'm definitely going to be going for making the chase this year. I was unfortunate enough not to make the chase last year due to the fact I came in on the race before the chase started last year at Chicago. But throughout the rest of the season, I'm just really to try to stay consistent throughout the whole season, and we'll go from there. See if we can get a few wins, couple top fives. Who knows? We'll be in the chase. Maybe we can even pick up a championship at the end of the year.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. I told the viewers that if you won the race tonight, I was going to say go Power Rangers when you cross the finish line. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but I will make good on that promise if and when you win during this season.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate you doing that, and I know the people at Saban Brands, they totally appreciate y'all throwing on the race, giving all the love to the Power Rangers Dino Charge Ford Fusion or Chevy Silverado this year. Make sure you all check out Power Rangers Dino Charge. The new season started February 7th, and they will be continuing to come on Nickelodeon at 12 noon Eastern Time every Saturday.
Well, we look forward to watching it. Thanks for talking to us, Jared, and best of luck in Atlanta.
Thank you, guys, and y'all have a great night.
All right, we got one more interview left to do before we say goodbye tonight, and that is with the league president, Jim Foose, and you have called up with him, Brian.
Jim is the president of ASRS Racing, and man, what a heck of a first round. Daytona in the trucks at the nighttime under the lights, and we went 30 laps without a caution. Saw a lot of great battles up front. Jim, you must be very happy with how the race went tonight.
Well, yeah, there's a part of me that's really happy about it, but a little unhappy about one of our competitors who obviously failed to qualify for the race and decided that he wanted to run the race tonight. And I dropped the ball a little bit by not printing off the qualifying time list, but you put these guys on the honor system and you'd think that they would obey by that, but obviously not. We'll see what the repercussions of that going down the road are, but other than that, I mean, great race. Everybody did a great job. Had a great time out there. I haven't escaped Daytona in a while with a truck in one piece, so it's always fun to bring home something.
Next week, I believe the series is going over to Atlanta. I mean, do you have any plans for that in store, or is it just going to be back to the drawing board and hope for a better finish this time around?
Atlanta's one of those 1.5 mile tracks that I haven't won at. Got a lot of wins on the other ones, but Atlanta's one of them that I haven't. So definitely would like to get something there, have a good finish. We've run decent there in the past, so really looking forward to it. Just getting the head start that we got tonight is a huge momentum builder going into the next race. And after that, I think we go to California. So we go to California. I won the Cup race there last year, so looking really forward to going out there and kind of getting to play around with some really high speeds and a nice wide bumpy racetrack that I really like.
Absolutely. It sounds like you got a great string of races to come for sure, and a lot of competition to battle against. We want to thank you, Jim, for coming down here. Is there anything else you wanted to add going forward this season?
Hey, not much. Just hope that everybody at home got the memo that we changed the color of the front of my truck and changed it up a little bit for Daytona. I think we'll be back in the regular truck next week at Atlanta, but so I was kind of hoping that everybody could find us tonight, even though we weren't completely bright yellow.
Well, Jim, thanks for coming down and having a chat with us, and we'll see you next week, and good luck to you this season.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
And so that was the conclusion of our interviews here tonight. Jim Foose, Jared Haggerty, and our top 3 finishers. I was just reading over my notes for the race, and I realised we forgot to bring you the AMSOIL Up to Speed segment on lap 25 there, but the reason for that is because we were undergoing green flag pit stops at the end. So, to get out of the way, we'll run down the top 10 one more time. It was Adam Blattell, Jonathan Cadell, Ricky Hardin, Dan Murray, Tommy Ryan, Benny Ellison, Jared Haggerty, Aaron Cleanhands, Reed Rundell, and Keith Medeiros. So consider that your AMSOIL Up to Speed segment, and they're your top 10 finishers, and we're very thankful to see AMSOIL coming on board for this race. We would like to thank Jim Foose and the organisers of this league for making this race happen. And we would also like to thank the makers of the various software and hardware that help make this stream possible. iRacing.com, XSplit, Audio Technica, and Ava Media. Thanks to the team today, Brian and Amjad. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. A big thanks to Dougie Beard for creating the camera sets that you saw during this stream, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. We've been beating the dead horse all night, but we'll beat it one more time, and that's that we will be at Atlanta Motor Speedway next week. Same time, same day, on Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So, until then, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.